Welcome into episode 11 of Through the Whistle, and I'm once again your host, Ty Belcher, and as you can see, I'm back solo today, and when we find a way to get the logistical side of this all handled, we'll be back to having more than just me up here by myself hosting. But aside from that, the little background behind the scenes stuff, we had a crazy week of football this past weekend. A lot of top teams lost their playoff hopes. And in the NFL, we had games where no lead was safe. So let's start off with a game that most people are calling the game of the year. That game was between the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, as we all know, was a team that came into the season with a lot of playoff hype, a lot of playoff expectations, a quarterback who was getting regarded as probably the best quarterback in the league, MVP aspirations, all that other fun stuff, all that good jazz. But there's been times this season, the last 3 games to be exact, no, the last 2.5 games, so we're going to start count from the second half of the Packers game, where that MVP, that guy who everybody expected, people who called the best quarterback in football, myself included, because I'm an anti-Patrick Mahomes guy. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I am a strong anti-Patrick Mahomes hater because people like to say that he's the GOAT, and he's not. Relax on that. But anyways, back to the Bills. Josh Allen he's liable to make at least one throw a game that just makes you think, what the heck are you doing? Like, why are you making that throw? Why are you trying to force that ball? And yesterday was no different. I know Friday I talked about Kirk Cousins being 10-40 against teams over 500. Me and Kevon both said it's a stay away game. We don't know enough about what's going to happen. It's a revenge game for Stephon Diggs. And the game technically lived up to the hype. But personally, the game was sloppy. There was 5 turnovers between the two teams, between the Vikings and the Bills. And like I talked about earlier, well, just a couple of minutes, like a minute or two ago, Josh Allen is liable to make one dumb throw a game. And he did multiple. Instead of just the one, he did it on multiple occasions. So I said there was no lead safe. The Vikings were down 10 with less than 5 minutes to go. And I'm not an expert. No, I'm not one of these analytics guys. But up 10, less than 5 minutes to go, against an actual good team in the NFL, it's kind of impossible to come back from. But Josh Allen wanted to hop in the bag that he used to be in back in his early career. The Vikings come back from down 10 to tie it up. And they come back from down 10 in a very strange way. So, in the 4:34 mark, the Vikings hand off to C.J. Ham, who hasn't had a touchdown since 2017. Me, in 2017, 5 years ago, I was in high school. Wasn't even a senior. I was a junior in high school, which is insane. Sorry to make anybody feel old or anything, but I was young. I was in high school the last time this man scored a touchdown. But, fullbacks gotta get their love. Shout out to Coach Johnson. Fullbacks need love too. And boom, lead goes down to 3. No, lead goes down to 4. So, Vikings in their head, they're like, yeah, go for it. We're about to go for it. So we can go to 24-27 instead of 23-27. So if we get the ball back, we can kick a field goal, tie it up. They miss a 2-point conversion. Dang, I hate to see it. They get a stop. Allen, incompletion, 3rd down. Bills punt the ball. It's like, Kirk Cousins, what you got? Boom, boom, boom. Justin Jefferson hops in the bag that he just wanted to prove to everybody that he's a top 3 receiver. He wanted to show that he's a top 3 guy. He wants to be in a conversation with Devontae, Tyree, Stephon. He said, oh, no, I'm young, but I'm ready. Like Beyonce said, I'm young, but I'm ready. Jefferson puts the team on his back, gets them down the field. They get all the way to the goal line, and the Vikings get, no, Kirk Cousins. No, I'm going to blame it all on Kirk Cousins because that was a dumb play call by the Vikings. Yes, I agree, QB sneak. But why do you have an unbalanced line? That's stupid. Like, you will want a tight end on both sides. You want 3-man, like, that's logical. But, so they get stopped at the 1-yard line. All hope is lost. Oh, no. Vikings do it again. Kirk Cousins on drop to 10-41 against teams over 500. And this man, Josh Allen, fumbles the snap on a QB sneak on the 1-yard line. And I think Kendricks recovered the fumble in the end zone. Well, I know he recovered it in the end zone, but the person who did it, I'm not, kind of slipped my mind. But the Vikings recovered the ball in the end zone. Touchdown Vikings. Oh my God. Never seen this before. Me personally, I'm like, oh, it's different. Fresh off work, I was like, oh my God, my eyes deceived me. So the Vikings kick the ball back to the Bills. 43 seconds left. This man, Josh Allen, says, okay, I get it, I messed up. But I'm going to show y'all why I'm a top 2 quarterback. He goes down the field in 40 seconds, gets the Bills in field goal range, overtime. So the Vikings are like, okay, Justin, you got to do it. We need you one more time. Justin gets him back down the field. Kirk Cousins looks pretty good. I was nervous because I was like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. Strike. It's like Cinderella when the clock hits midnight. When the clock hits 4 o'clock, you don't want Kirk Cousins on the field because things can go downhill. But he overcame. He did great. So Kirk Cousins gets down the field, had himself for a field goal. And Josh Allen once again said, hey, I'm a top 2 quarterback. Let's go. Let's get this money. Josh Allen, bow, gets him to the red zone. And he said, no, y'all expect me not to throw this pick? You think I'm a top 2 guy? This is a roller coaster. You forgot. Last regular season, come on, roller coaster. Every other week you didn't know what you were going to get from me. He throws a dumb pick across the middle. And everybody, every offensive coordinator, QB coach, everybody knows you do not throw it late across the middle. And he said, no, I'm Josh Allen. I'm going to make the throw. Ball gets picked off, game over. And, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, it's not college football. Wins and losses aren't that big of a deal. Yes, they are. So a couple episodes ago, a lot of episodes ago, I'm saying a couple, but it was a lot. Bills beat the Chiefs and had home field reign through Buffalo. Now we look 2 games later. Buffalo is now, the playoffs were to start on November 14th. Buffalo would be a wild card team. And no, not the top wild card team. They would be in 6th place. They would be the 6th seed in the playoffs right now. So you drop from the 1st seed down to the 3rd in your division in a matter of 2 games. That's a problem. I just don't know what to say. Like I said, both teams combined for 5 turnovers. Kirk Cousins, 2 interceptions. But Allen was a nice, generous person and said, no, I won't be outdone in any field, in any type of way. He said, all right, I'll give you 2 interceptions. I'll raise you 2 interceptions and throw on a fumble on the 1-yard line. Josh Allen has to get it together. He just has to. Like, he has to. There's no if, and, ors, or buts about it. He has to get it together. You have the Dolphins, who are hot. The Jets, who just beat you. And then you still have the Chiefs, who you can't get over the hurdle in the playoffs. And you don't really have that easy of a schedule going forward either. So they better lock in, hope, and pray that the Chiefs lose another game. because, boy, going through Arrowhead, we've all seen what happened. The last, 4 years, there's only been 2 teams who have beat the Chiefs at home in the playoffs. Well, in Arrowhead. Last season with Joe Burrow, it took Patrick Mahomes playing the worst playoff game he's ever played in to beat the Chiefs. And Tom Brady, that took a very weird offsides penalty on Chris Jones to avoid losing to the Chiefs. So, Bills, get it together. I believed in you. I need y'all to win this division because there's a little hope that the Colts still win the AFC South. So, hey, I need everybody to lock in. I need to win my money. Come on, parlay. The parlay's still alive a little bit. We're still hanging out hope. Even though I think I've cashed out that bet, but I gotta go check after this. But we just talked about the Vikings, add another win. I think that's 6 straight now after starting off 1-1. So let's go to a division rival for the Vikings, and that's the Green Bay Packers. I told y'all last week the Green Bay Packers are dead. I mean, keep on talking to you on Friday saying the Green Bay Packers offense cannot score. Michael Parsons, field day, masterclass. No, that did not happen. And it makes me mad because I literally hate the Cowboys, and I let that man talk me into taking the Cowboys. The Cowboys had Christian Watson from North Dakota State, rookie. I should have just known. It was hello Randy Moss when he went for 3 tugs on 3 catches. Watson, 4 catches, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards. I said, whoa. Y'all said, whoa. I thought Watson couldn't catch. What's going on? But run game. Aaron Jones could not be stopped. He looked like Saquon and Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook and all these other running backs who just get off. He was going crazy yesterday. Micah, no call, no show. Could at least give me a heads up you weren't going to be playing your best. You were up 14. Dak, 2 early interceptions. What are you doing? You're too old for this. Like, why is there possessions where Tony Pollard doesn't touch the ball at all? Like this, I don't even know I bring up Tony Pollard because he's on my fantasy team. But this has to be what it feels like to be a Cowboys fan, because not only did I bet on the Cowboys, bet my tuition on the Cowboys. Hope Kent State doesn't see this and raise my stuff. But I bet on the Cowboys. And I had Tony Pollard on my fantasy team, so I'm really locked in. Like I need all this stuff to happen. Cowboys go and see their dad. Aaron Rodgers said, I know, I'm going to spot y'all because at the end of the day, I don't lose to y'all. Like, y'all are the Cowboys. Y'all are the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones is just the figurehead owner. I'm the real owner of the Cowboys. Aaron Rodgers comes back down 2 possessions, ties it up. And then Mike McCarthy goes for it on 4th down in overtime instead of kicking a field goal. Mike, what are you thinking? This is why every Cowboys fan wants you fired every other game. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, I just don't understand. Being a Cowboys fan must be horrible. I see them on a week-by-week basis. Cowboys fans are everywhere in Columbus. My uncle is a Cowboys fan. Kevon's a Cowboys fan. My mom's a Cowboys fan. So I see it, and it's usually funny. But when it's my money and my fantasy running back on the line, I need the Cowboys to lock in. So the Cowboys, after this loss, dropped to 3rd place in the division. And 3rd place in the division may not seem is a bad thing. But they also dropped down to 6th in the playoffs here. And I'm pretty sure we'll talk about the other teams that they could face in the first round. But the Cowboys don't want to be spotting the Eagles any extra games. Like that's just a given. Because the Eagles now can lose 3 games. Well, have to lose 3 games just for the Cowboys to win. And that's pretty hard to do. Like, you're done. You're dang near spaghetti, Dallas. Dallas is going to be Dallas. Just don't understand what was going on. But the Packers, they might have some life, still kicking. No, they're not dead yet. Aaron Rodgers, not dead yet. So that's always a good thing. But Cowboys, get together. Never bet on y'all again. Dana just put you on the no bet list. Y'all broke my heart. But what do I expect? You're the Dallas Cowboys. In the last game I want to cover for yesterday's games, Seattle Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I told you on Friday, Geno's pretty good under pressure when he's pressured. He played pretty decent game, played pretty well. The man fumbled for no reason. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, he bobbled a snap on a possession that started because the Seahawks caught an interception on a pass from Leonard Fournette to Tom Brady. Once again, from Fournette to Tom Brady. Tom Brady slips, kicks the I think it was Woolen who caught the interception, kicks him, trips him over, and Seahawks get no points from it. But on the whole grand scheme of this helps the Buccaneers kind of get their footing right for the playoffs, because the Seahawks, both teams continue their track and both win their division. Bucs will now have the tiebreaker over them, which could be huge because the seeding right now is weird. It's wonky. It's very strange. But it's going to be a situation where the fourth seed is better to have than the actual third or second seed, because as of right now, it go for the bottom three seeds. It's the Giants, Cowboys, and 49ers. Out of those three, we all know. It's probably in reverse order of like teams that are the best, because the best team out of those three, Niners, and it's Cowboys, then it's Giants. The Giants are the highest of those three. So Seahawks might have backdoored themselves into helping themselves, but whatever they want to do. But Seahawks are going to a bye week, very late bye, hope to get healthy. And going forward, they're still in control. You know, it's the NFL, they're in control of their own destiny. But Seahawks have to watch out, got to look over their shoulders, see the Niners going on a run. It's crazy. It's insane. Even though everybody and their mom thought that Seahawks would be a bottom tier team. But the Seahawks will bounce back. Buccaneers, 2 in a row over 2 NFC West teams. So they're feeling good about themselves. Tom Brady talked about how he looked like Randy Moss. He was a slip up away from looking like Randy Moss, which is always a funny thing, hearing Tom Brady talk about being an athlete, because Tom Brady's not very athletic. So enough about yesterday's games. Let's talk about tonight's Monday Night Football matchup between the Eagles and the Commanders. And I know, yes, the Commanders suck, but they don't suck, but they suck, but they don't suck. It's weird. So, Eagles, in a long week, haven't played since last Thursday. Kind of like a little mini buy-in there. But you can't overlook the Commanders. Can't overlook the Commies. They have a chance. They've been in this position before, playing an undefeated team on Monday Night Football with everybody watching. Because back in 2020, the Commanders ended the Steelers' win streak on Monday Night Football when they had no business of even being close. But it doesn't matter. Past doesn't matter. It's only about the future, about the right now and the future. So the Eagles are looking, stay ahead by 2 games in NFC, because they have the head-to-head over the Vikings. So they essentially have a 2-game lead. And on a personal side, Jalen Hurts is looking to stay atop the MVP race, or at least in the top 3 with Patrick Mahomes and Tua Tagovailoa. But I think Tua will kind of get deduction due to Tyreek Hill just being absolutely insane, on pace to break every record, probably the Offensive Player of the Year. But Patrick Mahomes, I would say, is a two-man race between Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, because Patty is out there doing his thing, sadly. I know. I'm very sad about that, too. Patrick Mahomes, 25 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. Jalen has all had to keep up with that and stay, I would say, will have to stay undefeated as well if he wants to win the MVP. I don't see any way possible that a 15-2, 14-3 Eagles and Jalen Hurts I don't see that Hurts doesn't win the MVP if he keeps on this same ratio of touchdowns to interceptions and all this other stuff. I feel like more so for Hurts is touchdowns in general to turnovers because he's so mobile. But tonight, Eagles, do not see them covering 10.5. No. Back door, like Lil Durk said, watch the back door. You don't want to get snaked by the homies because the Eagles will let up a back door. Monday Night Football is good for letting up back doors. So y'all take that into consideration for tonight's game. We're about to go into a short break, and then we'll talk about college football and how a couple teams' dreams died on Saturday night. So we'll be right back through the Whistle, episode 10. Welcome back into episode 11 of Through the Whistle. Like I said earlier, I'm Ty Belcher, your host. And this Saturday in college football broke a lot of teams' hearts. And it's in Pacific. I know. It's kind of a little pun right there. But specifically, a whole conference. So this Saturday was the Wild Wild West. That's what I'm going to call it. The Wild Wild West. Because 2 of the 3 highest ranked Pac-12 teams lost. Not only did they lose, they lost at home, which is probably the worst scenario for the Pac-12. Because instead of having, well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that after I talk about the games. So USC played Friday night. Started off a little slow. Defense looked bad, per usual. It was Colorado. Colorado, who got their teeth kicked in by Oregon last week. But USC handled business. We're not here about USC. USC, you did your job. You did what you needed to do. But your little brother that's across the street in LA didn't. They lost to Arizona, a 5-16 at the crib in the Rose Bowl. DTR, my guy, my GOAT, my man, the myth, the legend, couldn't get the job done. UCLA's defense has been a problem all season. They got their teeth kicked in by Utah and Oregon on defense because UCLA's defense cannot stop anybody. They cannot stop a piece of paper that's about to fall off the edge of a table. They can't stop a single thing. And yes, I am pretty frustrated because UCLA's defense is so freaking bad. So let's close our eyes and imagine. I tell you, Zach Charbonnet, a former Michigan man, had 181 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, sounds nice. Sounds lovely. The words of Stevie Wonder, isn't she lovely? And then DTR, the quarterback, had 245 yards passing, completion percentage over 55%, and a touchdown. You'll be like, oh yeah, it's up. We beat the dog crap out of Arizona. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Let's get to USC next week. No, they didn't beat Arizona because their defense cannot stop anybody. They couldn't stop a Little League football team. Like, it's insane. It's like you have no self-respect on that defense. I know we talk a lot of crap about the Big 12 not having defense, but the Pac-12 not having defense is just getting out of control. Like, at least the top of the Big 12 this season has defense. The top of the Pac-12 has no defense. Utah, no, you're lying. Utah got their teeth kicked in by UCLA. DTR had a field day. Daniel became a Heisman candidate off that one game. Oh, we all know USC doesn't have defense. Oregon, no defense. UCLA, no defense. Why can't y'all recruit defensive players? Like, yes, I understand. Most of the time, you're not going to get a 5-star guy out there. But you can still get good 3 and 4-star talent. Like, y'all can't stop anybody. But I gotta stop before I get too worked up. UCLA started slow. Like, their offense started slow, which happens. It's okay. If you expect the offense to score every possession, you're senile. Like, there's no way you're in your right state of mind. They started off slow. But Arizona started off hot. Went up 14-0 in the first quarter. And then UCLA scored early in the fourth. Zach Charbonnet, first touchdown of the game. 1 of 3. UCLA gets a stop. Boom. UCLA touchdown. Boom. 14 up. Now, when I was watching, I was like, oh, yeah, it's over. I can go to sleep. It's bedtime. Sleepy time. I'm tired. Got work in the morning. UCLA could not get another stop to save their life. Like, you lost to Arizona at home. No self-respect. When people were fighting for UCLA, like, oh my gosh, they should be ranked higher. And I'm people. UCLA, I thought they deserved respect, but the College Football Playoff Committee was correct, and they were right about UCLA not being that good, not being a top 10 team. Because losing to Arizona at home is inexcusable. No reason in any shape, form, or fashion that with Charbonnet and DTR being in your backfield that you should lose to Arizona. But this loss is not on them. They did everything they could. It's not high school anymore. You're not playing both sides of the ball. You're not Jabril Peppers. Like, no, that's not what's happening. But UCLA now dead this college football season. Hopefully, in their case, they can get back into the Pac-12 championship game. Possibly. Probably not. Because Utah beats Oregon. It's kind of slow for them. So I'm going to wait. We're going to talk about the grand scheme of this whole Pac-12 thing. And another game that happened right before UCLA, Arizona. You had Oregon versus Washington. On Friday, I told y'all, Penix, field day. Oregon has no defense. But I didn't think it was this bad. Penix had 408 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he did have one dumb interception in the red zone, which he threw into a highlighter of Oregon players. There's 3 players right there, and they're all wearing neon. I know you saw them, Penix, but Penix had a performance that I expected, that made me remember why I was so high on him last year at Indiana after the COVID year when he just went crazy. Penix, always an athlete, always can extend plays, can make a lot of throws. The way him and Freivogel used to play together at Indiana was insane. It was like very entertaining to watch. But Penix will also have, like Josh Allen, a dumb decision that will just be like, what the heck are you doing? But Penix loves the big moment. Penix went into Ohio State, almost won that game. I know there wasn't any crowd or anything, but almost beat Ohio State, beat Michigan, beat Penn State. Like, he loves the gravity of big moments, and I don't blame him because, look, I tell everybody, pressure does one of 2 things. It can either burst pipes or it can make a diamond. It's up to you which one it does. And Penix is one of those people who thinks, oh, yeah, we're going to make a diamond every time. I love the pressure. I love the game. So this is what happens. Oregon's defense is horrible. Sucks. We've seen it all year. It's okay, just like UCLA. We've all known both defenses have been trash, have no self-respect. Oregon, not only did they let up 408 yards passing to Penix, Oregon also allowed Washington's running back to rush for 70 yards. Yes, Ty. And yes, I understand, viewers. It's only 70 yards. But it's off 10 carries. Ty, it must have been one big run. No, it wasn't. I promise you, it wasn't. Because his longest run was for 16 yards. Take that out. 9 rushes for 54 yards. I'm not a math major, but that's still 6 yards per carry. If you're allowing 6 yards per carry, you have no self-respect. Simple as that. And then Bo Nix played absolutely insane. He played a great game, worthy of the Heisman lore he was getting, because he had 280 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. But he wasn't in on the most important play of the game because of the coach, because their head coach didn't call timeout to get him back in the game. If you're going to call a 4th down play, you make sure your best player is in the game. That's like Ohio State having a 4th down not having Marvin Harrison on the field. You wouldn't do that. That's stupid. That's like Ohio State having a 4th down and not having C.J. Stroud on the field. That's stupid. No, I would never do that. That's like Michigan having a 4th down and not having Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards in the game. You're not going to do that. That's stupid. That's like Tennessee having a 4th down and not having Henry Hooker, Hyatt, or Tillman on the field. No, that's stupid. That's like Alabama having Bryce Young and Gibbs on the sideline for a much needed 4th down. Needless to say, on your own side of the 50, like you're not even close to field goal range. You're on, like you don't get this during field goal range, and they don't put Bo Nix back in. Like, timeout, Bo, get your butt back in there. We have a playoff spot on the line. No, they don't do that. They're stupid. Oregon head coach, what are you thinking? If you don't have Bo Nix out there, why don't you just punt the ball and force Penix to go down the field to score, to get in field goal range? Why? Why give them the ball on the 40-yard line? Why? What sense does that make? I just don't understand. I don't understand any of this logic. So with Washington beating Oregon, Pac-12 is now dead. USC, it's a toss-up to see if they win against UCLA. USC also has no defense. Detroit is one of them from UCLA. UCLA also has a great run game. USC softened the run defense. So, strong chance UCLA beats USC. But with Oregon losing, they dropped down to 2nd place. With USC in 1st place, and then Oregon in 2nd. Oregon now plays Utah. Utah wins that game. They have a strong chance of making the Pac-12 championship game. So let's say, for instance, is Utah and USC. I don't think that Utah would be number 1 in the conference through technicality. But if they are, USC is going to lose to Utah again, because you're not going into Salt Lake City, Utah, and winning against Utah. It's not happening. It's just like Nick Saban said, it's not happening. It's not. I'm sorry. But enough about the Pac-12, a dead conference, because Oregon's probably going to drop to like 12 or 15. UCLA's out of there. Get them gone. Now it's down to USC, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams to try and save the day in their first year at USC. I know the Pac-12 commissioners hoping and praying that USC beats UCLA. I know that they're mad that Utah scheduled that game against Florida early in the season, because if Utah is only a 1-loss team and their 1 loss is at UCLA, it would be a top probably 18. But nope, them scheduling in the Pac-12. Oregon goes into Atlanta, Georgia, gets back for week 1, takes a lot of momentum from them in the playoffs before this past loss against Washington. Utah loses to Florida early, literally forces them to have to run the table in the Pac-12. Didn't happen. Utah out of there. UCLA, we needed you to beat a 5-6 team. You couldn't do that. Out of there. So, Chip Kelly versus Lincoln Riley this week. we're going to look into that on Friday, which is going to be interesting. Very interested to see how these rankings are going to be this week also. Another team that's prone to letting people down, Alabama, who I said 2 weeks ago is done, dynasty over. Alabama narrowly escapes Ole Miss on the road. Bryce Young literally carries this team week in, week out. If he didn't win the Heisman last year, he'd probably be number one in the Heisman race right now. Or number two, right behind C.J. Stroud and maybe Blake Corum, but it's kind of hard for running back to win a Heisman. Bryce, 209 yards, 3 touchdowns. What more can you ask for the man? Like, he's doing everything. He's your whole offense. But also in the SEC, a team that almost let me down. I'm saying Alabama let me down because they didn't cover their 6.5-point spread, because they choose to kick a field goal. They choose to kick a field goal, and they don't cover my spread by 0.5 point. I was hurt. I alternate spread it down from 9.5 to 6.5, and it didn't cover. But that's what I get for believing. Anyways, LSU went to Arkansas in a very cold game, down south cold game, where LSU had hot chocolate and chicken broth on the sideline, which is very weird. Which brings into another question of, when this expands, if an SEC team has to come up north to Ohio State or Michigan or even Penn State, oh my God, a whiteout at night in December, any SEC team is going to lose that. I promise you they are. I don't care if it's Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, I don't care. They're going to lose. But anyways, this makes the whole being able to host a postseason game at your home stadium even more interesting, because LSU struggled in 39-degree weather in Arkansas. Only won that game by 3 points. Probably should have lost. Jan Daniels didn't have his best performance. Only 15 passing attempts for 86 yards. But LSU also clinches the SEC West and will play Georgia. But aside from that, in the SEC gravity that holds, you'll talk about that closer to the game. If an SEC team has to go up north, oh my God, I promise you, they are going to get their teeth kicked in. Because LSU thinks that's cold. I was outside at Big Noon kickoff when Ohio State played Indiana. It was freezing. It was cold. It was 30 degrees. Michigan was snowing, as well as Ohio State was snowing. Wisconsin, it's cold as heck down there. Up there, I mean. Minnesota, freezing. Penn State, Happy Valley, they're insane and it's cold. Rutgers, freezing. What? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, being that's cold. Shit. Brian Kelly, you know how cold it is in the Midwest. So it'll be interesting in a couple years when these SEC teams are gonna have to start coming up north, because there's no way in hell that Michigan's gonna say, no, we don't want the game in the big house. We want it in Ford Field. No, not happening. Try again later, sweetheart. No way. Ryan Day says, no, we don't want to play indoors. We don't want to play at the Horseshoe. Let's go to Indianapolis and play at the Coast Stadium. No, that's not happening. Like, no. Penn State's not going to ask to go to whatever the closest dome is to them, which I think is probably Syracuse's dome, because I can't think of any domes that's in the Pennsylvania area. Like, no, we don't want to play in Happy Valley. Stupid. But welcome back in. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Camera died on me at the end of my diatribe talking down the SEC. I'm going to just assume that's God telling me to calm down before I burst a blood vessel in my forehead. So, I talked enough about the SEC. So about a team that actually matters in a playoff contention this year. That's TCU. TCU won by 7 points on Saturday. They were underdogs by 7.5 points. I told you I love underdogs. Shout out to TCU. being great. But TCU, if I told y'all won by 7 points, y'all probably be like, oh, yo, defense probably gave up like 24 points. No, TCU, your defense played amazing. Played sensational. Unlike in the Pac-12. Unlike in the SEC. Played great defense. TCU held Texas with Quinn Ewers. Mind you, with Quinn Ewers. To less than 14 points. Something that Alabama couldn't do without Quinn Ewers. TCU now officially, in my opinion, controls their own destiny. TCU has made a statement with this win against Texas, at that. They're a legitimate team. Their defense, who at times looks shaky. Shout out to Zendaya. It's kind of shaky. They are, I don't know, like their defense is just so, they're also a roller coaster because there's games, like if you've been watching TCU at all, TCU's down very often in games. Like they're down like 10 points, 7 points at very different times in most games, various points in most games. And obviously, to come back, you have to get stops. TCU will get stops in those games to allow their offense to put points up. Like I just said about the Pac-12, about UCLA. You have to expect your offense to score every possession. It's insane. So your defense has to get stops. I don't care how good your offense is. You can't score every possession. It's not going to happen. So TCU goes out there and absolutely turns into the 2000 Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Hurricanes, to put it in college football terms, turns into the U of the early 2000s and in the 80s. They go out there and just stops Texas. Texas can't do anything. Like, they literally can't move the ball on TCU. TCU just looked at a better team. Duggan didn't play his best game. I think he only had 148 yards passing, but they got the win. Like that's all, and that's literally all that matters right now. They now solidify their spot into the Pac-12 championship, in the Big 12 championship. Sorry. And out of all the teams in the Big 12, I don't think that any of them have a chance to beat TCU. TCU's gonna go down the street into Jerry's world. It's kind of a tongue twister for me. Sorry. TCU's gonna go into Jerry's world and play a game for a Big 12 championship that's not that far from where they play every other game. They're very close to their actual campus. So, do y'all really see somebody else dethroning TCU this season? Like, I don't see a loss for TCU in these next 3 weeks. Oklahoma State, no. Sanders, no. Sorry. Kansas State, outside Manhattan, no, not happening. So, TCU now is just gonna essentially can put it in cruise control. I know they play Iowa State, so aside from the Iowa State game, which will probably be their hardest test, I think that they're looking at the number 3/4 spot in a playoff, more than likely number 3, and play the winner of the Big Ten. The winner of the Big Ten East, not the Big Ten, the winner of the Big Ten East, because nobody's beating Ohio State or Michigan in the Big Ten. I'm sorry, not happening. Maybe in a couple years, no, but not this. So, with the playoffs in mind, college football playoff rankings coming out tomorrow, I think we all in unison can agree that the top 5 is going to be literally copy and paste from last week. Maybe TCU jumps, Michigan, doesn't matter. Like I said, number 2 spot is going to be played for on November 26th in the Horseshoe. So I don't care what TCU does between now and then, they're not going to get that spot. But the top 5 is going to be the exact same. And at number 6, I personally it's very weird because Ole Miss was a top 15 team. Alabama just beat them. So they kind of have to jump. But they can't, because even with Oregon losing, you can't put them up that high. So this is gonna be very interesting who they put at the number 6 spot. They probably, I want to say they give it to LSU, but LSU just had an ugly win where they should have probably lost. Maybe they move USC up to number 6 to try and put them in a better position to at least have a chance of getting into the playoff before they go full on SEC. So with that in mind, maybe that 6th spot goes to USC. Number 7, LSU. So 6, 7 is going to be LSU, USC, I feel like, regardless. So the top 7 is going to be essentially the same as last week. You just take out Oregon, put in USC. Number 8 will probably be Alabama. Number 9 will more than likely be Clemson. I would not be surprised if Notre Dame gets moved up. Not Notre Dame, sorry. Brain fog right there. If Utah moves up to number 10, which will make this game between Oregon and Utah even more interesting, because boy, oh boy, like that's what could have been in the Pac-12. But it's going to be interesting to see what the playoff committee does. We're in a breakaway stretch of the college football season, or regular season. We're in the final stretch. A lot of teams are probably going to start falling in these next couple of weeks. Not really. I'm a liar. I'm kind of telling a story right now. Only one. I don't see Tennessee losing to anybody. Don't see Georgia losing to anybody. Don't see TCU losing to anybody. LSU. If it wasn't for Ohio State, Michigan playing, I would say neither of them are going to lose in regular season either. So the next 2 this week will essentially be very quiet in rankings. I feel like we'll be not a lot of debate between, oh no, they shouldn't be right there, all this other stuff. But who's to say? The playoff committee does crazy things every week, every ranking. But with all that being said, thanks for tuning in to episode 11 of Through the Whistle. Don't like any bets for tonight, so I'm going to hold off on giving out a bet. Kind of, if you want to alternate spread a little something for the Commanders plus 15.5 shouldn't be too much. I think it's probably a minus 270 because you're only asking for 5 more points. But like I said, episode 11, Through the Whistle. I'm Ty Belcher, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And that's it.